I received a comment asking if I had shared anything by Andrea Dworkin on my channel, and I have not. I told this person I have not, and I struggled with Dworkin because of her lesbophobia, and I thought about making a video about that, but I was reminded of a brilliant Tumblr post about exactly this, and I thought I would share it because it reflects my feelings and it is written concisely with evidence, and I appreciate it. So here it is. It's from the blog El Muchacho Maldito. I will link it in the description box. She writes, Andrea Dworkin wasn't a lesbian, and I doubt she felt any attraction toward women at all. She was probably heterosexual and purely called herself a lesbian because she wanted to be rebellious. The proof. Dworkin spoke about this many times. At a rally for Lesbian Pride Week in Central Park in 1975, when she was already living with Stoltenberg, Dworkin said, "This love of women is the soil in which my life is rooted." She went on to talk about erotic passion and intimacy among women, and a wild, salty tenderness. But this is harder to get your head around if you are familiar with her oeuvre. In her writings, there are too many smoldering descriptions of heterosexual sex to count. But the mentions of lesbianism are either bloodless, there is pride in the nutrient love which is our common ground, or funny. Question. There are a lot of rumors about your lesbianism. No one quite seems to know what you do with whom. Andrea. Good, as she wrote in a satiric piece called Nervous Interview. Imagine going to a lesbian rally as a spokeswoman and speaking to lesbians as if you were one of them while you're married to a whole-ass man and regularly write about heterosexual sex in your books. Catherine McKinnon told me, lesbian is one of the few words you've got to make a positive claim about identifying with women, to say I'm with women. It doesn't necessarily mean without men. Women are socially defined, sexually, as an inferior class. Lesbian is a sexual word. That's why it's stigmatized. In addition to her history and feelings, that's a lot of why Andrea identified by it, I think. Another of Dworkin's closest friends had a different take in the matter of Dworkin's sexuality. In 30 plus years of knowing her, I've never heard of a single romance with a woman. Not one. Not even a single romance with a woman, despite her love for women being the soil in which her life is rooted, and going to lesbian events more than once to talk about feminism. Regardless of how and whether Dworkin practiced lesbianism, the fact remains that it was important to her to be identified as a lesbian. It's a label many people have difficulty claiming, yet to Dworkin it was a badge of rebellion against the patriarchy, a system she had warred against throughout her entire life. But has the institution of marriage not been a fundamental building block of that very system? Dworkin had questioned and probed and rejected every expression of male dominance she could think of, even intercourse, with remarkable creativity and devotion, and yet she married in secret. Why? I rest my case. This woman was most likely heterosexual. I highlighted the last bit because it's funny to me how some radfems will argue that Andrea Dworkin and Adrian Rich married men due to societal pressure, when in reality most of Dworkin's social circle did not know she was married, and Adrian Rich married against her parents' wishes, since they didn't like her husband to be at all. Bonus points for Dworkin's gay-identifying bisexual husband, who, to the surprise of no one, is homophobic and so ignorant about biology that he thinks the only difference between men and women is having elongated tissue around the urethra. You can't make this shit up. I would try to help people understand what was wrong with the language of sexual orientation. Bisexual, homosexual, he told me. I said, think of yourself as being Jane sexual or Robbie sexual. It's not about gender, it's about a person. When he met Dworkin, it didn't matter to Stoltenberg that he was gay or that she didn't have enough elongated tissue around her urethra to pee standing up. Seems like only bisexual and homosexual are wrong terms, by the way. Heterosexual is just fine. Yeah, that sums it up. I know a lot of people value a lot of the work Andrea Dworkin wrote, and I want to, but I look at the world and radical feminism through a lesbian lens, and a lot of Andrea Dworkin's work is about patriarchy through a heterosexual lens. And I can't relate. Why? I don't care to give my time and effort to much of her work, unfortunately, because of that. Which isn't to say that heterosexual women can't have great viewpoints, because of course they can. And a lot of radical feminist women I know and talk to and like and whatever are heterosexual. That's fine. But Andrew Dworkin was very lesbophobic. And if anything, was a political lesbian. Like it said here, regardless of how and whether Dworkin practiced lesbianism, the fact remains that it was important to her to be identified as a lesbian. To Dworkin, it was a badge of rebellion against the patriarchy. That is the crux of political lesbianism. So, yeah, if anyone else wondered if I had or why I hadn't read any of Dworkin's work on my channel, that's why. That's not to say I never will. If I feel compelled to, I will, but I'm not really going to go out of my way to do so. Yeah, I hope that helps.